in October, people are putting pumpkins out, and at the same time, bears are kind of desperately trying to get those last minute calories, and then that just sets up a potential recipe for disaster because those bears will just follow their nose into town looking for an easy meal. Hi, I'm Nick DeReuter, a Wild Smart Program Director at the Biosphere Institute of the Bow Valley in Canmore. In September, we had 3 bears relocated, all due to feeding in fruit trees in town, mostly crab apples and mountain ash trees. All 3 of those bears were trapped and relocated. It wasn't as much that pumpkins were actually attracting bears and bears were noticeably feeding on pumpkins, but we did see a lot of bears in town feeding in fruit trees in the month of October, and that's one major attractant. But pumpkins are another major attractant and an easy meal for bears. And at this time of year, they get pretty desperate and try to get any easy meal that they can get. This is messaging we've been doing for many years now, and typically it's temperature and food availability that will dictate whether or not a bear will go into its den to hibernate. So with warm temperatures and available food like fruit trees or pumpkins, that could keep a bear out of its den longer than maybe it should. It's not just bears that pumpkins attract all sorts of animals. I've physically seen footage or in person seen deer, moose, elk feed on pumpkins as well. And so it's basically all the wildlife, and we don't want animals like that coming into town and feeding in people's backyards and on doorsteps. And so you can get a fine if you have those attractants in your yard. And then it goes up a level if a bear or other animal is found feeding in your fruit tree, for example, or eating a pumpkin on your doorstep, you could get fined, and that starts at a much higher fine. Even though we're seeing some colder temperatures, it's end of October now. There are some bears that I'm sure have gone into their dens or are starting to, but I know for sure that there are still bears out on the landscape, both black bears and grizzly bears. So I just want to remind people not to get complacent. Stay bear aware. If you're heading out on the trails or going for a hike, bike ride, all those things, remember to make lots of noise and travel in groups and carry that bear spray year round.